The excavator's bucket took its first bite out of the asphalt like a shark tasting a surfboard. I stood there, arms crossed, while the HOA president Tilda Cranston sprinted down the cul-de-sac in her bathrobe and bedroom slippers, waving a 3-ring binder like it was a holy text. "You can't trench a public road!" she screamed, voice cracking with pure outrage. I held up the county map, pointed at the line that marked my boundary, and said, calm as a saint, "Private property, ma'am. Always has been." That was the day I closed off the only access road to the Juniper Bluff Estates HOA. But to understand how it got there, how I went from wanting peace and quiet to legally digging a moat between me and them, you've got to rewind just a little. I'm Mason Hale. I'm not the kind of guy who looks for trouble. I'm the kind who fixes his own truck, drinks coffee on the porch, and prefers the company of tools to people. After a rough divorce and years living in a suburb where the HOA fined me for having the wrong shade of beige on my mailbox, I wanted out. Out of the city. Out of their nonsense. Out of every conversation that began with "according to HOA regulations." So when I found the Pronghorn Ridge Ranch, 200 acres of land outside Juniper Bluff, with rolling hills and a sky wide enough to stretch your thoughts, I signed the papers the same day. The previous owner mentioned something about the HOA's little access road that cut across the far edge of the property. "Oh, that," he said. "Just a neighborly agreement, nothing legal." I didn't think much of it. Big mistake. On my second morning there, a black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Tilda Cranston, mid-50s, pearls at her neck, a silk scarf so bright it could blind an eagle. She looked me up and down like she was inspecting a farm animal at a county fair. "Mr. Hale," she said sharply, "we expect your full cooperation with the Juniper Bluff Estates HOA. We have very high standards." I smiled. "So do I," said, patting the fence post, mostly barbed. Her lips tightened. That was the first time I saw the look of someone who spent their entire life getting their way and just realized they might not this time. Within a week I got my first courtesy notice. She wanted me to repaint my house in approved desert tones. She demanded I silence my rooster because the crowing violated quiet hours. She even wrote me a letter suggesting I schedule my cow's bathroom habits to maintain community hygiene. She wasn't joking. Then she told me my vintage windmill, something I'd restored by hand, was a non-compliant industrial eyesore. And when I didn't take it down, she mailed me a fine. A fine. For the color red. Aggressively menacing, she called it. The final straw came when I walked out one morning and found that my wooden sign, "Pronghorn Ridge Ranch Private Property," had been replaced with a metal one, "Residents Only, HOA Road." That's when I realized I wasn't dealing with a neighbor. I was dealing with a tyrant. I spent 3 hours at the county recorder's office digging through old files. And there it was, plain as day, the road they'd been using for 20 years wasn't an easement. It was a license revocable upon transfer of property, which meant the moment I bought the ranch, that permission was gone. I sent a polite certified letter, "Use of road revoked, effective in 30 days. Her response came not by letter, but by newsletter distributed to every HOA mailbox. "Ranch renegade threatens community safety," the headline read. She called me a road hoarder, said I was playing frontier cowboy. That week, someone cut my new padlock, installed their own keypad lock on my gate, and emailed me the code for convenience. Dog walkers left plastic bags of evidence hanging from my fence like ornaments. Someone spray-painted a smiley face on my water tank. So I fought back. Cameras, motion sensors, license plate logs. I rerouted my cattle to stand in the middle of the road during rush hour, docile but unmovable like four-legged barricades. Tilda went door to door with her clipboard collecting signatures for a petition. Every time her pen squeaked across the paper, I swear I could hear the words "emergency access." Then she called the county inspector, tried to declare my road public by necessity. The inspector showed up, looked through the plats, and told her flat out, "Ma'am, this is a private driveway through Mr. Hale's land. You're trespassing." That should have ended it. But Tilda wasn't done. She called the fire marshal next, waving her binder and shouting about life safety. He looked at her papers, frowned, and said, "You can't strong-arm a fire lane out of thin air." That night my cameras caught her and 2 board members sneaking onto my property at nearly midnight. They cut the chain again, threw my no trespassing sign into the ditch, and strutted away like teenagers after a prank. The next morning I went to the sheriff, filed a trespass report, filed for an emergency injunction. My binder was better than hers, organized, color-coded, every document in order. The license letter, the old owner's notarized statement, time-stamped footage. 3 days later we faced each other in court. She arrived in a tailored suit binder decorated with ribbons like a school project. I came in jeans and boots, standing beside my lawyer and a county surveyor. The judge, a no-nonsense man who looked like he'd seen every feud this town had to offer, read the documents in silence for a full minute. Then he looked right at her. "You knew this wasn't a permanent easement," he said. "But, Your Honor," she pleaded, "we've used this road for 20 years. The judge leaned forward. 20 years of trespassing is still trespassing. Bang. Injunction granted. HOA barred from using the road. For a moment I felt victorious, but also weirdly empty. All that fighting, and I just wanted peace. Maybe I had gone too far, I thought. Maybe I could have compromised somehow. Then that night I watched the security footage again, saw her sneaking in, cutting my locks, smiling about it. And I remembered exactly why I started this fight. No, I wasn't wrong. I'd just finally stopped being someone's doormat. A week later, the county engineer reviewed the subdivision plats and discovered something hilarious. Turns out the HOA already had a legal secondary access road. They'd just blocked it off years ago with decorative boulders and a pergola to make the neighborhood look more exclusive. They had literally buried their own escape route for aesthetics. By now, word had spread. Title companies were panicking. Realtors were sweating. Homeowners were calling me not to yell, but to ask what the hell their HOA had done. And then came Friday, the day of reckoning. The sheriff's deputy arrived, posted the court order on a wooden stake at the property line. The sun was hot enough to melt your anger into something sharp. Rick, my excavator guy, waited for my signal. I nodded once. The bucket came down, biting into the road, carving a trench 3 feet wide and 4 feet deep. Asphalt peeled up like skin. Clay dust filled the air. It was beautiful. We laid a culvert for my own ranch use, installed steel bollards, and hung a gate that could stop a truck. Then over it all, I welded a metal arch that read, "Not in the HOA." That was when Tilda showed up again. SUV idling binder clutched in white-knuckled hands. She got out trembling with fury. "You can't do this. We'll just go around." I pointed down both fence lines where brand-new no trespassing signs glinted in the sun. The sheriff's deputy leaned on his truck and said casually, "Ma'am, around is also his land." Her face went through 3 shades of red before she turned and stormed off. Within hours, the chaos started. Delivery trucks got stuck in gravel. Amazon vans nosedived into dry washes. A wine-tasting shuttle tried to make a 27-point turn in someone's flower garden. The decorative pergola, now reclassified as emergency infrastructure, was torn apart by frantic volunteers. And somewhere a woman in pearls screamed at a cactus that had fallen over. The county forced the HOA to fund and build a new road on their own property up to modern standards. Cost them $1.2 million. Property insurance skyrocketed. As for Tilda, the sheriff charged her with trespassing and vandalism. She took a plea deal, 200 hours of community service picking up trash along the county roads. Fitting, really. The queen of regulations dethroned by her own binder. The HOA board voted her out the next month. I wasn't there, but someone sent me a photo, her sitting in stunned silence, clutching that binder like a failed shield. I spent that evening on my porch watching the sun set over my land. Quiet, peaceful, finally mine again. I didn't win because I wanted to fight. I won because sometimes to keep your peace, you have to stand your ground. Lesson: never let someone else's rules decide where your freedom ends.